In the previous chapter, our protagonist awakened after an 820-year slumber in an unfamiliar era. His loyal servant, Frankenstein, investigated the place of his awakening and discovered that someone had recently purchased the building, but their identity remained a mystery. Meanwhile, we were introduced to the ones responsible for his awakening, a group of vampires. Upon realizing that the guardian tasked with protecting the shrine had failed, they showed no mercy, eliminating him on the spot. With blood spilled and no time to waste, they began their search for the one who had been sleeping inside the coffin. Chapter 12 begins in the lively school cafeteria, where students are lost in their own worlds, chatting, laughing, and soaking up their free time. Suddenly, the conversations and laughter is interrupted by the sound of approaching footsteps. Heads turn, and the room falls silent as they see the one entering. The girls start to quietly giggle and whisper as they blush, watching the person walk in. It was Ryan and the gang, and as soon as they entered, Shinwoo started to wonder what he should eat today. After making up his mind, he ordered 2 bowls of ramen noodles for himself, after which he turned towards the both of them, asking what they want to get. Aiken tells him that he will have the same as him. After that, Aiken turns towards Rai, waiting for his answer, but Shinwoo, knowing that like always he wasn't going to say anything, just orders another bowl of noodles for him as well. After that, they were seen sitting, where Shinwoo complains about his aching back and hears Aiken saying that anybody would be like that if they spent hours sleeping at a desk like he does. Both of them turn to see the rest of the students and notice all the female students from their school who were staring at Rai and were wondering who was the new student sitting with Shinwoo. Looking at all of them acting like that, Shinwoo felt a little jealous and comments that it's always the same thing wherever they go. As he was doing that, they hear that their food was ready, so Shinwoo gets up to go and grab their order. Shinwoo returns with the food and places the tray on the table. Aiken eagerly grabs his bowl of noodles the moment it's placed on the table, and seeing him so eager, Shinwoo comments that he is really fast when it comes to food. After that, he places Rai's bowl in front of him and asks if he has never had ramen noodles before and tells him that it's really delicious. Meanwhile, Rai was staring at both of them and sees Shinwoo breaking chopsticks into 2. Seeing this, his memories from the past flood before his eyes, and he remembers how humans used to drive wooden stakes through vampires' hearts to finish them off. Remembering that, he starts to smirk and comments that to think something like this would work on him. Seeing him smiling, Shinwoo asks why he was wasting time and tells him to eat up. Aiken asks if he was hesitating because he never had noodles before and sees him picking up the chopsticks. He tests how to use them and sees Shinwoo passing him kimchi, saying that ramen noodles taste better with this. He picks up a piece to taste it, and as soon as it touches his tongue, he notices a strange flavor and remembers the time when his kind was hunted down by humans and garlic was used to try and drive them away. Remembering that, he wonders if this food was poisoned, but before he could say anything, he hears Shinwoo asking what he was muttering about and asks if he wasn't going to eat. Hearing that, Rai starts to feel silly about the whole situation and looks down to see the bowl of noodles and notices that the noodles were getting bigger. He hears Aiken saying that the soup made the noodles get a bit fatter. Shinwoo gets annoyed with the whole situation and stands up, telling Rai to stop stalling and just eat up already. The story shifts to another place, and we are shown a massive building. On top of it were the 2 vampires that were seen earlier looking for the coffin that contained Rai and were discussing their situation. These are the 2 modified humans by the names M21 and M24. M21 comments that it was just as he thought. Finding the coffin is not going to be easy, to which M24 asks if they should have questioned him further instead of just finishing him off. M21 tells him that he probably didn't know anything, but at least he made himself useful by becoming his food. They say that this will be fun, as they didn't want to do anything easy anyway, and wonder what kind of people were they who stole the coffin. M21 tells him there is no reason to be troubled by that, as they will just get rid of them if they get in the way. After that, M24 asks about a third individual and wonders how he thinks he's doing, saying that he finds it somewhat unsettling that he's only recently regained consciousness, as it's been 21 hours since he was bitten. So he'll have to hurry as he only has 3 more hours until his body starts to decay. He asks if he thinks he will be able to find any prey in 3 hours, to which M21 tells him not to worry as he won't starve because this place is ideal for hunting. The scene shifts, and we see Yuna saying goodbye to her friends. After that, she slowly started to make her way towards her house, and as she was doing that, She notices movement in an alley and gets curious, so she approaches to see what was going on and sees a person panicking in a corner. Seeing him in this state, she asks if he was all right, and noticing her presence, the person slowly starts to turn towards her. As Yuna sees his face, she gets scared and freezes in place. This person was a vampire who had recently been bitten and had lost all reason because of his hunger. Seeing his terrifying face, Yuna froze and saw the person slowly rising to his feet. Seeing him getting closer, she tries to run away from him, and within seconds, her screams fill the entire place. The scene shifts to Rai and the gang, who were seen heading back to their homes while discussing the gaming cafe they just visited, where Shinwoo lost every round to Aiken. So Aiken tells him that it was funny to think that he'd even dream of beating him at a game. They turn towards Rai, saying that he should join them next time they visit, as this time he just sat there and watched them play for hours. Shinwoo offers to teach him how to play if he didn't know how to, and hears Aiken saying that with his short temper, he's sure he'll make a great teacher. As they were still talking, they heard a loud scream of a female nearby. Aiken wonders what it was and turns to see Shinwoo, who was nowhere to be seen. The scene shifts, and we see him running towards the source of the sound, wondering if the voice could be Yuna's. Eventually, he arrives at the alley from where the sound was coming from, and after running for a bit, he sees Yuna in a state of panic as a stranger attempts to harm her. Seeing this sight, Shinwoo is pissed, and he shouts at the man. With that, he started to dash towards them, shouting and asking if he was out of his mind. Just as the man was about to strike her down, he delivered a flying kick to his face and manages to save Yuna. With that, the man goes flying and crashes into the nearby dumpsters. Meanwhile, Yuna sat there terrified, looking at Shinwoo with tears in her eyes. By that time, Aiken had also caught up to them and asked if she was all right. He looks at Shinwoo and notices that he was worried about her, so he tells him not to worry about it, as it doesn't look like she's hurt. Hearing that, Shinwoo starts to smile, thinking that he managed to get here just in time. Rai had also arrived at the place and was staring at the one responsible. Looking at the man's face, he notices that this was no ordinary human, as he had been bitten by a vampire and was transforming into one. Seeing him staring at the man, Shinwoo tells him not to worry, as there is no way that he would be able to stand up for a while after that kick. As he was saying that, the man started to stand back up on his feet. Seeing this, all of them were shocked, and as they look at his face, all of them notice that this wasn't a human standing in front of them. Shinwoo shouts, saying that there's a laser coming from his eyes. Meanwhile, Rai notices that this person's body was slowly starting to decay and was getting stiff because it had not consumed any blood since he was turned. Aiken points out to Shinwoo that there was something wrong with this person. Yuna also says the same thing, that he wasn't normal. Seeing them both panicking, Shinwoo wonders what he should do. He looks around to find something to fight back and sees a garbage can next to him. Seeing this, he picks up the thing and, using all his might, throws it towards the thing and manages to land it directly on its face. Seeing that the thing was distracted, he tells all of them to run, but Rai wasn't planning on running away from this fight, so he stood there alone. Seeing this, Shinwoo wondered what was going through his head. In his frustration, he grabs onto his arm, telling him to follow after them, and all of them escape from the place. As the thing stood there staggering as the end of its life drew near, it notices someone approaching him and turns to see who it was. He saw two individuals appearing from the shadows. It was the two modified humans who were responsible for turning him into this. Seeing the state he was in, M21 comments that he came here just in case, but never expected to see something this interesting. He tells the thing that even if it was weak from hunger, it was still pretty impressive how they managed to beat him so easily and escaped. M24 comments that this one was of no use to them now either, to which M21 says that it can't be helped, but for a kid, those moves weren't normal. M24 agrees but says that even so, it was just a kid that he let get away and calls the thing trash for losing to helpless prey. Seeing his expressions, the creature gets worried about itself, but as he remembered all of those kids who did this to him, his worry turned into anger, and he started to growl. As he was doing that, M21 notices something and tells all of them that judging from their clothing, they were probably students. He says that one of them left one of their bags behind. They tell the thing to search it to see who it was that beat him to the ground. Hearing that, it started to empty the bag to find something useful, but finds a guidebook with 132 ways to capture a woman's heart, a book that had gym-related material, and a practical martial arts book. Seeing everything, All of them stood there in confusion, wondering what kind of student carries around stuff like this in their school bag. The scene shifts, and we see the gang, who, after running for a while, stopped to catch their breath. As they did that, Aiken comments that there was something weird about that person, especially his eyes, to which Shinwoo agrees, asking if they saw the lasers that were shooting out of them. Hearing that, Aiken says that was nonsense, as it was probably light flashing on a vein that popped in his eyes, to which Shinwoo tells all of them that even if he didn't have laser beam eyes, there was something definitely weird about that guy. He asks Yuna if she was hurt. She tells all of them that she was all right, thanks to all of them, and here's Aiken saying that it was all Shinwoo who heard her scream and acted fast. Hearing that, she thanks Shinwoo for saving her life, and Shinwoo starts to blush. Yuna notices Rai standing in silence, listening to their conversation, so she thanks him too and calls him Rai, surprising all of them. Seeing their expressions, Yuna informs them that the girls made up that nickname as they didn't know what to call him. So they took the first part of his name, Rizel, and asks if he doesn't like it. Rai tells her that they can call him whatever they like. After that, she asks what the three of them were doing together at this hour, and hears them saying that they were playing games at a gaming center. She asks if Rai was also with them and inquires if he lives nearby. Hearing that, both of them look at each other in confusion, as even they didn't know about his place. After that, all of them turn towards him, waiting for his answer. Seeing their expressions, Rai wonders what he should do and remembers Frankenstein's words, who gave him something, saying to use it if he was in trouble. Remembering that, he reaches into his pocket and brings out a piece of paper and hands it over to Shinwoo. All of them look at the thing, wondering what it was, and saw that it was a picture of their school principal. Shinwoo asks why he was handing him this picture, and hears Aiken telling him to flip it over, as there was something written on the back. As he does that, they saw a phone number with a text saying, "I'm lost. Please help me." All of them were left speechless as they stared at it in stunned silence. The story fast forwards, and we see all three of them sitting inside a beautiful room. As they were waiting, they heard a voice saying that he wasn't expecting guests, so all he has to offer is tea. It was Frankenstein who was telling all of them to make themselves at home. Hearing that, all of them thanked him for his hospitality. As they were enjoying their tea, Frankenstein stood next to Rai as his servant, and seeing this, Shinwoo asks if this guy lives with him. Hearing his words, Frankenstein starts to sweat, realizing he just referred to his master so casually. So he tells him, yes, they have a mutual acquaintance, so he will be staying with him for a while, and says that he didn't realize that they were going to be out together so late. Aiken informs him that after school, Rai went with them to a gaming cafe where they were hanging out. Frankenstein asks who this Rai was, and hears Yuna saying that the girls at school gave him that nickname, so they started using it too. She says that even Rai said it was okay. Hearing that, Frankenstein was surprised and turned to look at Rai. As he was doing that, he hears Aiken telling him everything that happened afterward, that they ran into Yuna later on, and that she could have been in serious danger today. Frankenstein asks what kind of danger. Aiken tells him the whole story, how while they were walking home from the gaming cafe, they heard a scream, so they ran towards it and saw a stranger trying to hurt Yuna. But Shinwoo got there first and attacked the guy, saving Yuna in the process. Hearing that, Frankenstein shows relief that nothing bad happened to them and comments that the person probably wouldn't have recovered for a while. He informs all of them that there are many schools trying to scout Shinwoo for his athleticism, as there is no sport that he isn't good at. Shinwoo tells him he thought the same at first, but that person got up after that hit like nothing happened. Frankenstein says maybe he missed, but Shinwoo tells him he kicked him with everything he had and even felt the impact on his foot. He says that it was disturbing to see him get back up as if nothing happened. Hearing everything, Frankenstein was shocked, as no one in his age division comes close to his skills in Taekwondo or karate. Aiken tells him that there was something weird with that man, as his eyes and teeth were weird like an animal's. His face was pale and sickly, and he was thin as a stick, giving off a creepy vibe. Hearing about that person's appearance, Frankenstein starts to get suspicious, thinking if that person was really a man or something else. As he was thinking about it, he hears Aiken saying that Yuna wasn't hurt, so after Shinwoo knocked that guy down, they ran from the place. Frankenstein starts to think about everything and hears Shinwoo calling for his attention. So he turns towards him and hears him saying that he needs to get this guy some lunch money. Hearing that, Frankenstein started to panic, wondering what he was talking about, and hears Shinwoo saying that it was his first day at school, and it ended early since it's the weekend, but he had to feed him today. Hearing that, Frankenstein started to sweat, realizing his mistake and wondering what he could have eaten. He stood there in terror, not able to move an inch, as he hears Shinwoo asking if he was even listening. He slowly started to turn towards Rai, wondering if he was angry at him because of his mistake of not preparing proper lunch for him to eat, and sees him sipping on the cup of tea with no care in the world. The scene shifts to M21 and M24, who were discussing their infected human. M21 asks where he was, to which M24 informs him that he's having a meal somewhere nearby as he managed to catch something. Hearing that the infected human managed to find a prey, M21 says that it was about time, as any longer and his body would have broken down. He wonders if this one will last. M24 reminds him that they never survive very long, so he'll probably die soon, either because of a lack of prey or by becoming prey himself. That much is inevitable. It's just a matter of when. He asks M21 if he doesn't think that it was about time they updated the higher-ups. M21 replies that they should do that, but he doesn't feel like going back so early. Regardless of their orders to retreat, they will stay a little longer, as they have never been the obedient ones after all. So as long as they follow the orders, they should be fine. The scene shifts back to Frankenstein's home, where he was informing Rai that he had his secretary take the children home. He tells him that there is something about their story that concerns him and asks if he thinks that Yuna was attacked by a vampire. Rai listens to him in silence as he tells him that he can't be certain from the description, but considering their current situation, it makes him uneasy because one of the things that changed while he was asleep was the treaty between humans and vampires. He informs him that, as he already knows, the humans originally offered up a treaty for their safety and benefit, but the situation changed after they became stronger. So the vampires agreed amongst themselves not to hunt humans so as to avoid exposure, and that is the reason the humans are no longer aware of their existence. So a vampire attacking a human in the middle of the city would be a violation of that code. Hearing that, Rai tells him he isn't sure if that thing was a vampire. Hearing that, Frankenstein says that he is sure it wouldn't be hard for him to tell whether he was a vampire or not, to which Rai tells him that this creature's rage and hunger were far greater than any vampire that he had seen before. Hearing everything, Frankenstein started to think that his master would have known immediately if that thing was a vampire. But based on what the children described, it sounded like one, and he thinks that something was going on. So he needs to find out what and do it quickly, since it could also involve the master. Meanwhile, Rai was reading a journal on society in the 21st century, written by Frankenstein. As he finished reading it, he tells Frankenstein that the kid bought him lunch. Hearing that, Frankenstein started to apologize, saying that in his carelessness, he forgot to prepare lunch for him. He hears Rai saying that it was his first meal since waking, and he enjoyed it. He tells him he also likes the school, and that surprises Frankenstein, who wasn't expecting that. After all that, he talks about his new name, saying that this is what everyone would be calling him from now on. Seeing how much he enjoyed his time with those kids, Frankenstein started to smile and asks what Shinwoo purchased for him to eat and gets shocked when he hears him saying ramen noodles. The story fast forwards to the next day, to the school, where, as usual, the class was filled with the chatter of the students. In the very back was the gang, where Shinwoo wonders where the teacher is, as the bell has already rung. As they were doing that, they heard an announcement on the speaker informing all of them that an unfortunate incident has taken place close to their school, so all of them are to go directly home as soon as school is out. It instructs all of them to stay away from dark places and have a friend with them at all times. The rest their class teacher will explain himself. Hearing everything, Shinwoo started to wonder what could have happened. As he was thinking, he sees the door opening and saw Dido entering the class. He calls for everyone's attention, saying that there was an incident that happened nearby, because of which the police have requested that students be sent home early. Shinwoo raises his hand and asks what happened that has everyone panicking like this, to which Dido informs the class that someone was murdered yesterday. Hearing that, the whole class fills up with whispers as Dido informs all of them that the culprit was unknown at this time, and all they know is that this is no ordinary murder case. He instructs all of them to refrain from going to tutoring classes after school as well. After that, he calls out the names of Shinwoo, Aiken, Yuna, and Rai but gets stuck at his name. So he checks the notebook containing their names and tries to read it. He notices that it was so long that it didn't even fit on the tab and wonders who wrote it here anyway. After that, he calls his name and informs the gang to go to the principal's office. Shinwoo asks why they were called and hears Dido saying that he doesn't know and asks if they got into trouble. After some time, all of them arrive in the room, and Shinwoo asks for permission to enter. As they enter, all of them thank him for yesterday and hear Frankenstein telling them to take a seat. After that, he tells all of them that, as they already know, there was an unfortunate incident near their school. He tells them that he suspects that the culprit could be the strange person that they described yesterday and says that he called all of them here to tell them to be extra careful. He asks if any of them were hurt or noticed any injuries when they went home, to which all of them say that they didn't sustain any injuries during that incident. Hearing that, Frankenstein started to think that this was a relief, but if they had been injured by the hands of that thing, they wouldn't be walking around like this. As he was thinking that, Aiken calls for his attention, saying that there's something that is bothering him, so he thought that he should ask about it. Hearing that, Frankenstein started to wonder if he found out that the one who attacked them wasn't an ordinary human and asks what he wants to know. Aiken tells all of them that it was about the murder incident. Hearing that, all of them wondered what he wants to say and hear him asking if the murder weapon found at the scene was a trash can. If so, the perpetrator is Shinwoo. That caught all of them completely off guard as they hear him saying that he saw it with his own eyes when Shinwoo attacked that guy with a trash can, and it looked like it really hurt. Hearing everything, Shinwoo asks the principal where his trash can was and hears him saying that it was under the table. The story fast forwards to the end of school, and we see the gang walking back to their homes as Aiken complains about his neck hurting, to which Shinwoo tells him that he got lucky that it was only a headlock and asks who he thinks he is, the high school detective. Seeing them acting like this, Yuna started to smile and thanks all of them for walking her home. Aiken tells her it was no big deal, as all of them live in the same neighborhood anyway. Shinwoo also agrees with him, saying that the principal's place is also nearby, so it's good for Rai too. Hearing that, Rai simply nods, saying, yes. After that, he hears Aiken asking if he thinks the person who attacked Yuna yesterday was the culprit, to which Shinwoo tells him there is no way. He wonders what could be the reason that only their school was the one that let students out after lunch. To that, Aiken tells him that school is important, but the principal has the students' best interests at heart. That's why he let all of them go before dark. Also, the murder itself is a major incident. Hearing everything, Yuna gets worried, thinking that if the person from yesterday was the culprit, that meant there was a chance he would come after them for revenge. Hearing that, all of them show concern, so to take her mind off this subject, Aiken reminds her how that guy wasn't able to do a thing against Shinwoo. Shinwoo also agrees with him, saying that he will escort her everywhere until the perpetrator is caught. Aiken assures her not to worry about a thing, as if that person had a grudge against someone, it'd be against Shinwoo, which scares Shinwoo. He asks if Aiken is serious, and Aiken replies that even he would be upset if he was attacked by a trash can. Besides, it's better for Shinwoo to be the target than for Yuna to be in trouble. Seeing both of them acting like this, Yuna started to smile and thanks both of them, as because of them, she feels much better now. Hearing that, Shinwoo suggests that all of them go to the gaming cafe to celebrate, and says that there is still time until dark, so an hour should be fine. After that, he tells all of them to follow him, saying that he will teach Yuna and Rai the game and make them experts. He hears Aiken saying that he should first take a look at his own skills, as even kids tease him because he is so bad at the game. The scene shifts to another place, and we see M21 and M24 sitting on top of a building, where M21 was frustrated that they didn't manage to find a single clue even after searching for so long. To which M24 tells him that his kind of delicate tracking isn't exactly their area of expertise. He tells M21 that if he eats everyone near that building, they might be able to get a clue about the one they have been searching for and asks if they should do that, to which M21 tells him that won't be necessary, as they'll probably get new orders from above if they hang around here a little longer, As he was telling him that, his eyes catch something, and he starts to smirk, saying that he just found something to keep them entertained till then. M24 asks what he was talking about and looks down to see what he was talking about. He sees two school kids wearing the same school uniform as Rai and the gang. Seeing this, M21 comments that the idiot lurking in the sewers who is avoiding the sunlight will serve to entertain them. The scene shifts to the sewers, and we see an individual lying on the floor in darkness. As the camera closes in, we hear the man saying words, sunlight, pain, and all of a sudden, he turns around. We see the same infected human from yesterday, whose face was covered with blood and was remembering the last day's incident. How that kid hit him with a trash can and also managed to escape. Remembering that, he gets furious, thinking that he will take out that person no matter what. The story shifts back to Rai, who was visibly looking angry, and seeing him like this, everyone else got worried. The story shifts 1 hour ago, and we see all of them, who had just entered the gaming cafe. As they sat on their chairs, Yuna notices that Rai wasn't turning on his computer and asks why he was just staring at the black screen. Aiken tells her that he did this the last time they came to this place too, so she tells him that it would be nice if he joins them. Shinwoo also says the same thing, but Rai wasn't reacting at all, so Aiken turns on his computer, saying that he will teach him everything so he should give it a try. He tells him to get in position just like he saw them playing last time. As he was doing as instructed, he catches the attention of everyone around him. Seeing him struggling, Aiken takes the keyboard and mouse and shows him the proper way to use them. He explains that the left click is attack, and if an enemy appears, target it with the crosshair and shoot. Seeing everything, Shinwoo approaches them, saying that he will be coaching Rai one-on-one in the game, to which Aiken tells him he doesn't think that is a good idea, as he doesn't think that Rai knows anything about this game, so he should teach him some more. But Shinwoo wasn't listening and tells him not to worry, saying that there is a limit to what you can learn from words. First-hand experience and dying in this game is the fastest way to learn. After that, he starts to sit on his chair with a smirk on his face, while Yuna encourages him to give Rai a good lesson, to which Shinwoo tells her not to worry, as he will make sure of it. After that, their match starts, and Shinwoo prepares to attack Rai from the back. Before he could even react, he unloads the whole clip into Rai's avatar. After that, he bursts out laughing while Aiken tells him to go easy on him. After that, they continue to play, with Shinwoo beating Rai in every round, and with every win, he laughed even harder and made fun of Rai for being bad at the game. Meanwhile, Rai sat there in silence, not showing any reaction. Seeing that Shinwoo wasn't listening and not going easy on him, both Yuna and Aiken wondered what they should do, so Aiken suggested that Rai and Yuna play one-on-one, as it was her first time too, so both of them could practice together. After that, their match starts, but Yuna easily beats him in the first round. Seeing this, the place fills with Shinwoo's laughter. By that time, Rai was also starting to feel embarrassed with the whole situation and hears Shinwoo saying that he died and didn't even hit Yuna once. He comments that he knows it was his first time, but still, that's pretty pathetic. After that, he turns towards Yuna, and he praises her, saying she was impressive for her first time playing the game. Meanwhile, Rai sits there in silence, listening to his insults, as Shinwoo tells him that he feels sorry for him, as it was hard to lose like that even on purpose. The story shifts to the modified humans, and we see M21 and M24 smirking as they manage to track down Rai and the gang while they were on their way home from the gaming cafe. M21 suggests that they go and see the kids face-to-face since they will be entertaining them. With that, both of them prepared to approach all of them. Meanwhile, the gang was walking with no care in the world, completely oblivious of the danger that was lurking nearby. We hear Shinwoo saying that all the humiliation from losing to Aiken until now flew away after what happened to Rai, to which Aiken tells Rai to not mind him, explaining that everyone is bad at first. But Shinwoo wasn't letting go of the topic and tells Yuna that she was amazing. Even though this was her first time, she completely crushed Rai without dying once and asks if she had fun today. He suggests that all of them do this more often. As they were doing that, all of them noticed something that caught their attention, and Shinwoo points out that there's something weird about those men up front. In front of them were the modified humans, and as they got closer, all of them shared intense stares for a while. But M24 sensed something weird and turned his attention toward Rai, feeling an overwhelming power from him. Seeing this, both of them froze in fear and didn't even have the guts to turn to look at him as he passed by them. Seeing them like this, Shinwoo gets suspicious, and as he passed by them, he comments that he thought he recognized that face. Hearing that, both of them were shocked as they started to wonder if somehow he saw them hiding in that alley last night and think that this isn't an ordinary kid. But what they didn't know was that Shinwoo was talking about something else entirely, as he tells the gang that this stocky big guy looks just like their homeroom teacher. Meanwhile, the men stood there, terrified of him and Rai. Sensing that they were far enough now, M21 asks M24 about his mutated human and why he hasn't appeared yet. M24 was pissed and tells him that he sent an order as soon as they spotted these kids and comments that they should have gotten rid of that useless thing. Using his ability, he contacts the thing that was still hiding in the sewers and tells it that it keeps proving itself worthless. Sensing his anger, the creature starts to sweat, fearing for its life. As he was doing that, they heard Shinwoo saying that it was lunchtime, so they should go and grab hamburgers. Hearing that, both of them realized their mistake and stood there in silence as they realized that the sun was still up. That's why their mutated human was still hiding in the sewers. Meanwhile, the thing was panicking, wondering what it should do as its masters were angry at it. The story fast forwards to the night, and we see the mutated human coming out of the sewers to hunt for new prey. As it was doing that, it hears a voice from the back asking what was it posing after coming out so late. It turns back and sees both of his masters standing behind him, and hears them saying that while he was curled up inside the sewers, they found out the address of the guy he wanted to take out most. A grin forms on his face as he hears them saying that he needs to eliminate him. They instruct him that after he is done with that kid, he needs to find out the information about the other students who were with him and eliminate them as well. And as a warning, M24 reminds him that this will be his last chance, so it'll be best if he listens to them. If he can't even accomplish this task, he will sever his useless life. The story shifts to Frankenstein's home, and we see Rai enjoying his tea while Frankenstein informs him that the murderer in this case was the man who attacked Yuna. He says that after investigating through informants, he found that the corpses had almost no blood left and that the incident happened close to where he first saw that man, so he is certain that the man who attacked Yuna was behind this death, to be sure. He himself checked the corpse, but luckily it didn't transform. As he was telling him everything, Rai tells him something that he never expected to hear as he says that he experienced death today. Hearing that, Frankenstein was completely terrified and asks what he means. Rai tells him that they guided him to a dark place, a place called an PC Bang. Hearing that, Frankenstein wondered what he was talking about and if he was referring to a game. Rai tells him that he learned, for the first time, the feeling of helplessness. Hearing that, Frankenstein realizes that he was really talking about a game, and hearing him say that today, helplessness controlled his body, he started to wonder how he was supposed to console him. But he decided to not say anything as Rai tells him, "They killed me ruthlessly." And that is the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and support the channel by subscribing. Until next time, take care.